Boom, boom, boom. You're live, guys.
We're here.
We're live, Sinclair.
Finally.
Yeah.
Damn weather.
Telling you, hope all you other folks are getting sunshine and bright skies. We ain't.
We ain't.
No, we're getting rainy weather, but it gave us time to sit back and think about
Dogs.
dogs. Yeah. Seems to be the the driving force around here. That's all we think about is dogs. Huh?
That's it.
I can tell I got old. There used to be a few other thoughts filtering in, but oh well. So we're going to talk about this stuff, and we're going to talk about guard dogs and stuff like that. There's one that I had some people ask me, what's the difference between guard dogs and, we train differently. Mm-hmm. We literally train different. And there's a reason for that. One thing I discovered, now I'm in El Paso and Fort Bliss is right there, right? So, and I started out with 2 dogs, one Mal, one Roddy, and then my partner, Osa, my patrol dog. And at that time, this is in the 90s, Fort Bliss was a wonderful place to be. First, there was a whole lot of thieves going on. It was the car theft capital of America. Mm-hmm. And then the other reason was the way the road, this is a little complicated here. The way the military works, so you know it's going to be complicated. Probably silly, but complicated. Their rotation for the military is, if you were in Germany, which is a plush station, you take your family and everything, and they have Oktoberfest, that's a good thing. So you go to Germany, and then if you're artillery, you rotate back to Fort Bliss, El Paso. Germany's way more fun than El Paso. But you're at El Paso, and then you rotate to Korea, where you can't bring your family. Well, what the heck has that got to do with guard dogs? Well, remember, this is the height of the Roddy craze. Everybody wanted a Rottweiler. And all these GIs were in Germany with, the creme de la creme of the Rottweilers. And they could buy really nice Roddies at a very reasonable price. They bring them back, and what happens was they've got a year in El Paso, and then they go to Korea, but they leave the wife behind. There's your fly, folks. We're swatting flies, pardon us. So you got a year in El Paso, then you go to Korea, and your wife stays home with the dog, which I found out in most cases she never really wanted in the first place. And hubby is now gone, and she wants to get rid of the dog. Have no idea what the repercussions were when he came back from Korea, but I didn't have to be there for that, so it didn't matter, right? So I was getting tremendous.
You're getting all kinds of good dogs.
Yeah.
Probably cheap, too.
Very cheap. Mm-hmm. Some were given away because, it's payday, it's 2 weeks before payday, and they didn't have any grub, and I'd give them $100. And I'd walk out with a, $2,000 dog. I had some of the best Roddies in this country working as guard dogs. But there's another side of that. One thing that helped me learn different ways to train was the fact that, like anywhere, when people are tired of their dog, they want to throw it away, right? So if you're in a town with a guard dog company, you got your animal shelter, used to be called a dog pound, and you got your rescue groups that are always over full. But the guard dog company is just another place. If you've got a big dog, people will call you and say, hey, probably the baddest dog I ever got was given to me. And in fact, now I think about it, 2 or 3 of the really toughest dogs I got were older dogs. You know what they're like, you know what their attitude is. And these people just, for whatever reason, I had one man who was going to a retirement home, couldn't take his dog with him, you know. And when you're getting in dogs like this and you're starting out and you ain't got no stock, you take whatever you can get. And that means whatever came in to pay the food bill, I had to get it biting. That changes a lot of how you think about training dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no benefit of pedigrees or none of that stuff. It's just, and one of the toughest dogs I ever had was a little, he's the littlest guy I ever had too. We called him Cuz. And he looked like a wire-haired terrier crossed with a blue heeler.
Mm-hmm.
He was heeler colored, kind of had a squarish muzzle, and he had this wiry hair just stuck up. And that was the meanest little hit that you ever was around. So this is where I started changing everything I thought or learned about training police dogs, protection dogs, Schützen dog, whatever you want to call them. Because we had to get dogs that just didn't have it, supposedly, and get them to bite. And to that end, some of the differences, and I heard, you know, like everybody, I look around all the dog training stuff I can find, and there's one of the video streamers, podcasters, whatever you call them, that's doing just protection dogs. He doesn't purport to do any sports stuff. It's called, I don't know the whole name, but it's Hans Alpine. Because I like to give credit where credit's due, and he had said something, or something came up on one of his videos about teaching dogs how to fight. He didn't call it that, but that's essentially what it was. And he said one of the most genius statements I've ever heard about dog training. You know how we want them to have a full mouth bite? Mm-hmm. We want them to push into the bite, push in. Mm-hmm. And he said, if I'm as close as I can to quoting it, it was, who are we to tell a dog how to kill a deer when we can't kill a deer with our teeth? In other words, why are we telling dogs what's the best way for them to fight?
They already know how to fight.
Huh?
We just got to bring it out of them. They know.
Yeah.
We just got to bring it out.
Right.
When we want it to happen, not when it's an instinct, survival instinct, basically. You know?
Right.
But we want them to have that instinct. And that's the gift of training, or the art of training those dogs to do that on command. They know what to do.
They know, right.
They just need to know when to do it. You know how, anyhow. You can polish a dog off, but every dog knows how to bite.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Some better than others.
Exactly.
And we're just doing it on command. And who, what, and the where.
Yeah.
And the why.
And the why.
But not the how.
Yeah, we don't have to explain.
We don't have to worry about the how.
Right. Right.
Give me that damn tug. Let me show you how to bite that, right?
Yeah. When you can bite the tug, you can tell the dog how you want it done. Okay, not until then.
A little more pressure on your dog.
So, that's a profound statement, and it's just good old common sense.
Ain't much of that anymore, Butch.
That's true. That's true. There ain't, is it, Scott? So. I was forced into doing it that way. I had to let the dogs fight the way they wanted to fight because, I'm feeding this sucker and I don't know if he's going to nail anybody or not, and I'll take whatever he can give me. That's when I started changing the way I thought about training. And don't get me wrong, if you're going for a Schützen title, you need to train it the way, what do they call it, IGP or something?
IGP.
Yeah. You need to train the way they want you to train because that's how you get your...
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're doing this.
Yep.
You ain't doing this. You're doing this.
Yep.
So you do that. But can you do this and that? Yes. But you don't lose this when you go into that.
Right.
So basically, there's no loss. If you train a dog for IGP and you're doing certain things, you can train to be a personal protection dog. You're not going to hurt the dog in his sport training.
Exactly.
He already knows. He's already basically got a good foundation for protection work at home.
Right. Right.
You're just a little different application.
Mm-hmm. The only time your best bet if you train as a guard dog is you can go into any of the sports with a much easier than if you train for a sport and then wanted the dog to train for the street. Because when we're training on the streets or for the streets, we're training them to go off on our commands. In other words, they do what we tell them when we tell them.
Would you think that at sport there's more pressure on a dog to perform in a sport? It's always intense, right?
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
From the get-go, they're being graded or being judged.
Right.
So it's pressure from point one.
Agreed.
So now you got to calculate that. That's why going backwards is hard, because when you're on the street with your dog, you can't have him wide open.
No.
The dog needs to be chill.
He's got to go from zero to.
It's like a Trans Am that's all rusty but has a big motor. It's a sleeper car, right?
Yeah.
You got a big motor in there. Yeah, we know you had one of those. But the dog's walking normally, all of a sudden he flips. You flip that switch and that full barrel opens up, and you can go off the gas and shut the motor off. Mm-hmm. That's when those kind of dogs get going. They listen really well, but it's a whole different.
Yeah.
Because when they usually stop, they stop.
And they actually.
It's not a bad thing. It's just the transition is.
Right.
I'm trying to explain that your transition going the other way is a lot easier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you have them where they're doing things when you tell them to, and you don't target them, then they're going to bite whatever's presented. So they're still going to bite the decoy on the sleeve. They're still going to bite the French ring helper, or the helper on the sleeve. They're going to bite the decoy, French ring decoy on the leg. But you have an added benefit of having taught the dog to be literally more versatile. Mm-hmm. So I think they transition from what I would call guard dog style training to sport training easier than the other way around. But the dog can still do it. Will make a bit of difference.
Question?
Yeah.
So if your dog was trained, agility, search and rescue, drug detection,
It's all different.
personal protection, you can just train your dog all around to do everything.
Well, yeah.
To be good at everything.
Yeah, you can get a dog to be. You can get a damn Saint Bernard, a Great Dane to be be a retriever. I
Can you
mean,
get pheasants?
He was in demand as a pheasant hunting. He flushed more pheasant in the Texas Panhandle.
it doesn't just because a certain breed excels at a certain thing doesn't mean it can't do something else.
Right.
Any breed can do anything.
Right.
It's just how you apply it and if you want to do that.
Right. And some of them will pick it up quicker than others. I mean, that Dane flushing pheasants was a sight, but I had a Springer Spaniel that, I got to bite at one of my seminars. So here's the thing, it's Mr. McCallum, again, giving credit where credit's due, and Scott said earlier, dogs are born knowing everything we want them to do. We just tell them when and where. So, Caroline, you just ran off a bunch of things. Agility, search and rescue, protection. Well, agility means jumping over things and going through things. Dogs can do that. Search and rescue means using your nose to find something. Dogs do that. Personal protection means protection. Dogs do that. So think about it, folks. They're born knowing everything we want them to do. We're just, as Scott said, we just tell them when to do it.
Or show them.
Or show them, yeah.
Even though he knows how to search dog knows how to search, right? But he doesn't. He knows, but to get him to search what you want him to do, you gotta show him what you want.
Right.
Like, they don't understand English or nothing, but you can train them.
Yeah.
Simple enough. You can train them to do this.
Yeah. And you got to give them the outline and the borders, the parameters you want them to do it in.
And to me, a dog that can search and rescue and an agility dog make a hell of a protection dog too.
Absolutely.
Good luck to the culprit.
Yep. Yep. And like Scott's excellent at showing them. The first probably 2 or 3 months when he was trying to show some of these younger dogs what to do, he had a lot of trouble getting that jute out from his teeth. But then he got one of them water picks and he could clean that jute out real quick.
Yeah.
But if you show them, they will do it. Mm-hmm. Don't smile. We don't want everyone to see that.
Yeah.
I'm glad second wins here. I know if I'm wasting my time with my jokes or not.
You did on me.
So I guess the gist of this is, don't think you're showing your dog how to bring down a deer, because you can't. Let the dog do what he does naturally and improve the way he does it.
Technique through training and, basically technique.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You're showing technique.
Yeah.
What you want them to do. And so they're all different.
Right.
There's different techniques, but it all comes right back down to the basic of they know.
They know.
And if you can get it out of them, good. If you can't, you might find something else to do.
Yeah. And when you take in the two instinctual, inherent drives of prey and defense, you can get them to bite harder. You can get them to bite fuller. You can take care of the mechanics. You can teach them through these drives with various techniques, like Scott said, but you're not teaching them how to fight. No. That's not a mechanic. That's something they know what to do.
Now, this is basic we're saying here, because you get into Rotties, very defensive. Mm-hmm. Mastiffs are, and you get your Mals that are very prey driven. Now, there's a balance between everything, but to get them to do, you have to do different things with different dogs. It's not a cookie cutter.
Right.
So you can get it out of them, but how you get it out of them is where you succeed or fail as a trainer. To know what to do with the dog, when to do it, and how to approach it. I mean, you don't go all out with a Rottweiler like you would go with the prey style prey style training, or the real pressurized attack, sequences you do with a Mal or even with a Rottie.
Right. Whole different.
Because he'll just look at you, and most of them I've seen, now they'll come out and bite, but I'm saying it ain't the same thing.
On their terms.
Yeah, so that was an example, there's different ways. So
yeah. And if you get
different breeds.
Yeah, one other, I lost the thought there.
Sorry.
If you're changing the subject, then you don't have to worry about losing your thoughts.
Right.
Oh, okay. So, because we were going to go into some things about
Pro sports.
Yes. And these dogs in pro sports are street dogs. The way we judge is the dog's ability to fight and control in the bite section. The obedience is like all obedience. We're just looking for sharp, clear. We don't do focused healing. The whole thing, when I first started formulating pro sports, there was only Schutzen, French ring. That's all there were in this country.
No Mondio yet?
No, Mondio hadn't started. Mondio never has really left Belgium. No. See, second wind's going, what's Mondio? It's a Belgium Malinois sport, but it's much more like pro sports. It's very, very similar in a lot of ways. They have different scenarios. But the goal when we're formulating how to do the scenarios and everything else, the first thing I didn't want to do was tell someone who's had a Schutzen title dog that his dog had to heel a certain way, or he had to bite a certain way or a certain place. Because in the first place, I don't feel like it's my place to tell you how to train your dog. That's the way we was raised in Louisiana. You don't tell another man what to do with his dog, and I still can't to this day. So we tried to formulate the exercises, and I use some of the top K9 handlers in this country, and one of the top French ring men from France to help me formulate these things in a way that if you had trained in French ring and your dog was a leg biter, we wanted the score sheet to reflect that he was able to intimidate and dominate the man. That's the goal of the pro sports. That's the goal of a street dog, okay, to take out a human threat. We don't care if you do it on a leg bite. We don't care if you do it on a forearm bite or if you go for the jugular, although some of the decoys do object when they go for the jugular. Mm-hmm. I will admit that. So we don't want to. We discourage that. So that was the first thing we had to do it, and as a result, you have like, all right, so the way I train the guard dogs, if a dog is 60 pounds, 65 pounds or smaller, none of my dogs stood still for stick hits. That's part of what I call canine martial arts. When you get to the 60, 65 pound mals and such as them, if they bit somebody, if you reach over for them, I taught these dogs to dodge. They could move quick enough and inflict enough pain that if that human was crying his eyes out and that dog dodged, they would go with him, right? If you were in that mid-range between 65 to 90 pounds, then we taught them just to grab, take a very natural, this was the easiest of all, because this is the natural fighting style for dogs. They grab the prey and then they try to jerk it off its feet. So there's your second style of fighting, again, in the guard dog business. And the third, and the one that everyone kind of seems to get the biggest kick out of, is what I call the rebite. This is, you can take a 65-pound dog and go with it, or you can take any size dog and work this technique. It's just, it takes more time to teach. So I like it for the bigger dogs, especially, because they're a little bit slower. But they can move their head just as quick as anybody. And that rebite, of course, is if the guy goes to picks up a brick and hit the dog in the head, they'll release, and yeah.
That's rebite. Now, I've seen people talk about rebites, which I consider typewriting.
Yep.
Up and down the sleeve. That's not a rebite.
Good point,
The rebite and the rebite. That's typewriting. That's a whole different. We can talk about that in another podcast sometime.
Right.
And go through the differences. But a rebite is actually like a block. Like he's biting here, and you go to hit him here, you block that punch, or that dog's gonna come and block that hit. So it's a rebite.
Right.
Video on that too.
So we got a video on that. We may have to show that one again pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are your three basic styles that I taught guard dogs.
So how that incorporates into pro sports?
Yep. Because either way your dog works, they're controlling, dominating the human.
So that's the boundaries and the way the rules apply to this. It's not set to it. The dogs don't want. Basically, you come out here, they're all gonna go to a tent and bark and hold, and they're not all gonna recall. It's gonna be different styles of biting, different styles of dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the generalization of the judging, like you're saying, is based on what we expect the dog to do, how he does it, but there's not a set path to get to that goal.
Nope.
The characteristics of the handler and the dog, how they work together.
Working together.
The bite, the releases, everything else. That's part of it too. But anyway, go on.
Right.
I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
No, that's a good explanation. And like he's saying now, the commands, the outs, when to stop, go into the guard, these sort of things. The control mechanisms are what we want the dog to do, because these control mechanisms are like releasing, dropping into an automatic guard. That's not what a dog does when he takes down a moose, or a wolf takes down a moose. So those are where the handler and the training are going to really show more, okay? But we're going to judge everything for practical application. We had one gentleman, I'll never forget as long as I live. We were in a state up north that I'm not going to mention in case anyone can identify.
Quebec.
And he worked in one of these, or competed in one of these sports, and supposedly had a champion dog, which was, in fact, was a Doberman. Really impressive dog. And whatever he competed in did the focused heel. Okay? That's great. That's your discipline. That's what you should do. But in a pro sports trial, we try to, like all our distractions, you can't use any sort of dog training equipment for a distraction. In other words, you can't have somebody within a suit, have a suit hanging up somewhere, have somebody walking across your path in a suit.
Wedges hanging out, or tools that you use to train dogs with.
Wedges, because you're not going to encounter those on the street, you know. So all of your distractions have to be things that can be encountered in everyday life. So at this particular trial up there, we had a hole dug. And we told the handler, when you make this turn, you know, you're going to walk past. I can think of a couple that have done this. We had a Schutzhund 3 dog who liked, anyway, he's walking past and his dog is staring right up at him like he should. And boom, fell in that hole and liked, really screwed up the man's healing points. Let me tell you, you know, we had a black shepherd. That's as much as I'm going to say at a trial here in Texas. And that's all I'll say about where, who was retired with honors from the Schutzhund Association 2 weeks after he decided to put him in a pro sports trial. And we had I forget, something like some kind of little jump or something, some obstacle sticking up. Dog trips over the obstacle. He's busy staring at the guy. Clunk, clunk, clunk. So but you know, you're not going to have anything that you wouldn't normally encounter. So I got carried away there talking about some of the.
So I'm a stickler for I talk about it a lot, is a stickler for the handler. Because just as much an important part of pro sports and being on the street, as you're together, you're a team.
Yeah.
It's your dog.
Yeah.
So are there any rules or judging or points for the handler in all this? Or is it all dog-based? I know in the obedience there's a lot to do with you can't bait. I know the rules. You can read the rule book, but there's a lot that has to do with the handler too.
Yep.
Now on the protection side, or civil side, is there also points taken, or because the handler is a big part of this too?
Right.
So is there anything incorporating all that?
The rules say real simple in the rule book. And by the way, anyone wants a rule book, I can send you a PDF formula or format rule book. You can should do on the field anything you would do in real life to save your wet monkey ass.
Okay, but there is actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so anyway,
absolutely, yeah.
Did you get a book?
The handler will play a major part.
Are you opposed to giving a scoring sheet if they ask for a scoring sheet to see how you score?
Oh no, and that's something else. I'm glad you brought that up. You get a written score sheet, and anyone interested I'll make an announcement on the trials here in a minute. Anyone interested, we can send you an online rule book. We'll also send you copies of the rule sheet, the score sheet. You can see, like you go down the obedience, it's got a left turn, right turn. It's all written down, how you made a turn, but it's also at the bottom, it's got all these little figures, little arrows and boxes and squares. And a judge will put this figure, like an arrow pointed up means your dog was charging ahead of you at a certain point. If you made a right turn, when the steward told you to make a right turn and your dog hung behind, there'd be an arrow pointing down. You can look at that score sheet and you don't have to sit and listen to some old hot-winded judge tell you at the end of well, I feel as if you were yada, yada, yada. We don't. No, that ain't, You will get a written score sheet that will show you exactly what the judge saw at the time he saw it. And you take that and you use that as a foundation for your training program.
Yeah, what you need to work on.
Yeah.
Work's never done, people.
Yeah, and
Work's never done.
It's got figures for full mouth bite, shallow bite. All of these things in protection or in obedience, all of these things are going to be marked down in writing. And this also encourages the judge's brother-in-law from entering his dog,
Yeah.
So the whole purpose is to make it as much fun and as progressive and rewarding as we can for the teams. So
right, and then at the end of the day, there's room for improvement, and you'll have something to go by. If you think, your dog's doing awesome and you don't have nothing wrong, well, I'd like to meet you. But,
I would too, yeah.
And I'm not saying that derogatorily. I mean, there's always something you could work on, tightening your turns and,
Yep.
and, especially when we're doing the on-leash biting and protection, there's ways you gotta, I see a lot of people holding the way they hold their dogs. There's no way I would get in front of those dogs.
Right.
Because they're not controlling those dogs at all. They're not being controlled. And they're on a leash that long and they're holding by the leash and there's just, it's not real. It's not gonna happen. You're not gonna walk your dog down the street on a 2-foot leash, a 100-pound dog.
Right.
Expect to hold him when he sees a squirrel or takes off sideways. You ain't holding it. I don't care who you are, and that ain't fun,
And this goes to what Scott said earlier about, are we judging the handlers? If you're not handling your dog in a safe way, because like in our civil agitation, our agitators have no equipment on. Mm-mm. If your dog's a juke junkie, we're going to find out. If your dog doesn't understand that this command means turn on, we're going to see it. But if you don't know how to handle that dog and properly hold that leash, no matter if you're under control or not, the ring steward's going to stop you for the agitator's safety. Because we've had agitators get bitten at.
Because people come out with new dogs they've never bit before, or even with puppies. From that, I make a point to actually have someone in there with me to show them how to hold a dog and start showing them what to do, the position, for the equilibrium, the balance, everything. There's it comes naturally after a while, but how to properly hold a dog for your safety and for the safety of the decoy. Or if you're in the street and something happens, you got a dog under control because you never know what could happen.
That's right.
You got to have that dog under control.
You've got to.
You need confidence, because as you build your confidence up, you'll see your dog's confidence go up at the end of that leash. I guarantee. It's a wonderful thing to watch, a team work like that. It's like in 1975, Dallas Cowboys win that third Super Bowl. It's a beautiful thing to see. We probably lost about 25 viewers there.
Memories of Tom Landry and Jimmy Johnson.
But no, and I stress that, and I see a lot more people out there talking about it now too.
Yeah.
It's all about the dogs, right? But it's a team thing. Like we always say, you put the bullets in the gun, but you're pulling the trigger, talking back.
That's right.
Right.
So it will be the first weekend in April, tentatively right now. My Farmer's Almanac said we're going to get some decent weather. Daryl Thornton, 25-year K9 handler, will be our head judge at the trial. Anyone who thinks they want to learn to agitate street dogs, we got 3 months to teach, and we'll be more than willing to do that. Teach you how to catch the man-eaters and all that stuff. And I guess for the moment that's, again, if you want a rule book, all you got to do is get in touch with me. You can email me or call me, either one, and I'll be glad to send you a complete rule book. It explains everything. All of our scenarios are written down, how they're judged, what they judge. It's all in writing. It's all there for you to see.
And it's not going to pencil whip when you get here. If it's the same today, it's going to be the same going forward. It's been the same that way for 30 years.
Yep.
It's not changing.
Yep.
So you'll know what to expect. Walking on Billy Bob's dog competition out in Jethro, Texas.
Jethro, Texas, yeah.
Anywho,
what do you think, Mr. Sinclair?
I think that, just dogs got it in them. Dog will do it. We just got to show them how to do it. And, call in, get the rule books, because we're having fun here, but it's all about the dogs. So we'll see you next week. And
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas
to everybody.